So, today we're going to talk about releasing the myths that limit your life. So, are you living a myth? Do you have a unicorn or a dragon? Now, some of you who saw me on the live Facebook chats this week saw me with my little dragon Legend. So, yes, I have Legend as my dragon. But for the most part, those things are considered to be myths. And as such, you don't have those myths, you don't believe in myths, or so you say, but yet you're living by myths. You have the myths that are controlling your life, the things that you bought into, the things that you are allowing to be there that aren't necessarily true, but you think you have to have them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what those myths are, where they come from, what they're creating in your life, and the most important thing of all, how to get rid of them. So what are myths? Merriam-Webster defines myth as usually traditional story of ostensibly historical events that serves to unfold part of the worldview of a people or explain a practice or belief or natural phenomenon. A popular belief or tradition that has grown up around something or someone, especially one embodying the ideals and institutions of a society or a segment of society. An unfounded or false notion. A person or thing having only imaginary or unverifiable existence. So that's a lot of words to talk about the definition of myth. But the most important thing for a myth is that it's not real, but you're treating it as if it's real, for you at least, and you believe you have to follow it. So, I don't necessarily have the unicorn there, and my cats probably don't ride unicorns, although, you never know, but my cats probably don't ride unicorns. It's fun to look at those things. It's fun to think about those things. It's fun to imagine them. But when you're letting them limit your life, maybe they aren't necessarily your best choice. So where do the myths come from? One source of myths is cliches. Some of the cliches that we have, they're just there. We just take them for granted. They're things that we bought into. We don't even think about whether they're real or whether all of it's real or if it works for us or whatever. It's just, we've always heard it, like you have to work hard for your money. How many times did you hear that as a kid? Someday my prince will come. That's a big thing in fairy tales and in other parts of life, is that someone's going to show up and take you away from all that. They're going to rescue you and your whole life will be wonderful, as long as the prince comes and gets you and all of that. And so how much of your life does that have you waiting on things? You don't allow yourself to be happy until your prince shows up, or until you have enough money, or until you get that job you want to have, or until you live this place you want to live, or all these other things. It just keeps you waiting. It puts your life on hold. And do you really want your life to be on hold? Or would you like to actually be living a life that works for you? And then there's the one that life happens and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't know how many people tell me that this happened, so then there's nothing I can do. I made my bed, I have to lie in it. Those sort of things. It's like, well, maybe you could check out of the room and get a different room instead of keeping that bed. There's all sorts of different things that you can do to change what's going on in your life if you're willing to do it. And you don't have to live by cliches. And another source of myths is the roles and rules by which we define ourselves. And those things come from places like your friends and your parents, your teachers, your role models, your society. They're all those rules that people make up. Things like girls can only do this, guys can only do this. You can't do certain things after you're a certain age. Um, Once you get to be a certain age, your whole body's going to fall apart. All of those things that you bought into that everybody says is just what is true for your society, for your religion, for um, your particular age group, all of those things, and you use that to define your life. It's as if you have to be that, and you don't. But you believe that those people know what they're talking about. They're authority figures. They wouldn't be teachers. They wouldn't be doctors. They wouldn't be have these positions of authority, positions of being in charge of people if they didn't care and if they didn't know what they were talking about. And that isn't necessarily true. Not every teacher that I had really knew what they were talking about. And just because they're your friends or your family, that doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they're talking about either. You have to look at what works for you. So when you're looking at rules and examples, there are things like you're only successful if you're using a lot of hard work and extreme sacrifice. I don't know how many times I heard that in school, that you've really got to work hard, and that if you don't work hard, things just aren't going to work out for you. And what does that create for you? That creates a lot of stress. It's a lot of frustration. It's a lot of, oh my goodness, am I doing this right? Am I working hard enough? Am I ever going to sacrifice enough so that I can have everything I want? And do I believe that I can't have everything that I want unless I do enough of this sacrificing? Other things like you must always take care of everyone else. You always have to put everybody else first. Your needs come last. Is that really true? If your needs always come last, then how do you ever maintain yourself? How do you ever keep up your health? How do you ever take care of you? If you're always doing everybody else's stuff first, everybody else's needs first, what does that create in your life? That always makes that you're not enough. You're the last thing on the list. And how does that make you feel? If you aren't missing something in life, then there's no motivation. You have to be a starving artist. You always have to have an obstacle to overcome. You always have to have something else that you have to achieve. And that, unless things are lacking, that you can't have anything. You can't do anything. You can't create. And is that true? Can't you create your life even if you don't have all these places that are lacking? Does creation only come from lack? Not necessarily. You have to do everything alone. That was one of these things that my grandmother told me, was that you had to be able to do everything yourself. You couldn't count on anybody else. You had to make sure that you could be independent, and you could always be able to take care of yourself. So that tends to make you not ask anybody for help, not accept, not trust people, to believe that, sometimes when I was doing all these things all by myself, they didn't always get done to the level that I would like them to be done, because I didn't necessarily have the capability to do all of these things that needed to be done, but I would do it myself instead of asking for help. Whereas, maybe if I had asked for help, it would have come out so much better than I had imagined that it could be. But instead, I believed that I had to do everything myself. I was the only one I could rely on. It tends to make you think that nobody ever has your back, and you can't trust people. So again, that's a lot of frustration, a lot of pressure that gets put on you. And the other one is another romantic thing that goes along with, someday your prince will come, is that there's only one true love for you. So if you don't find that true love, you're wrong. Your whole life is a disaster, obviously. If you lose what you thought was your true love, then you'll never find another one, and you'll never be happy again. So all of that romantic stuff tends to create a lot of places where we're we're lacking, where we're wrong, where we're just not going to be good enough, never going to be happy, and we're never going to find anybody who cares for us enough. It just creates so much stress and so much judgment in our lives, especially of us. You know, how much judgment do you have of you if you can't find your one true love? Maybe you don't need your one true love. Maybe having friends and family who care about you, and somebody that you care about who you don't think is your one true love, but is a really great person, maybe that's all you really require. You have to ask yourself these questions. So when you're reaffirming all of those beliefs, all of those rules and role models and all those things, and you start locking them into your reality. And then, you know, you start measuring your life by whether you're living up to those things, whether you're meeting them or not meeting them, whether you can ever be good enough. And so when you don't, then you're failing, obviously. You're wrong. You're screwing up. You're just not good enough. Obviously, if you can't do all those things that everybody tells you you're supposed to do, that supposedly everybody else is doing just fine, obviously you're not good enough. And you're just a screw up who can never get anything right. So how much does that create in your life? You know, all of that wrongness, all of that judgment, all of that making you believe that you're not enough and you're not good enough and you're not strong enough. Does that ever give you any hope of having a life that you could enjoy? So how do you start letting go of all that stuff? You can start asking those beliefs and those roles and those rules. Are they really true for you? And really ask them. You know, really ask if it's true that, you know, now that you're 30 that you can't go hiking, or now that you're 60 that you can't go surfing, you know, or now that, or because you didn't go to a particular school that you can never have a good job. You know, start asking those rules and those roles and those beliefs, are they really true for you? And, or is there maybe some part that's true, but some part that's not? And for the part that's not, then, you know, maybe you can let that go. You know, keep asking those things. Do they build you up like the little kitty believing someday it could be a lion, or that it could at least feel like a lion and be as fierce and as fantastic as a lion? Or are they tearing you down to where you're just loaded down with judgment, loaded down with not being good enough, loaded down with the frustration and the upset and the trauma and the drama of never being able to measure up? Which of those would you rather be living? If you'd rather be living the things that build you up, then it's time to start letting go of the things that are tearing you down. And then you can ask those things a few more questions. If I was truly living my life for me, what would I be doing right now? Would I be feeling this freedom? Would I be out in the world, out into the sunlight in the field, and just feeling the amazingness of life, of nature, of the world, all that energy and space and freedom that I can be? And really listen to what comes to you when you ask yourself that question. What would you like to be doing? And then start asking, and how do I get there? And again, listen, what are the things that I have to do to start creating that life I would like to have? What are the steps that I have to take? What changes do I have to make in my life? And where do I start making those changes? Again, ask those questions. Ask it of the universe, ask it of God, ask it of Source, whatever term you have for that. Ask. The universe is waiting for you to ask. And then ask yourself if you're willing to make those changes that are required to do that. And be honest with yourself. Are you, sometimes when you start making changes that are to stop doing things that you were doing that other people always expected of you, that may not necessarily make you really popular for a while, but it's maybe what's required for you. So yes, maybe you're not going to go take, your mother to every little thing that she wants to go to all the time. Maybe you're going to hire a driver for her or something, and she may not like that at first. But sit down with her and have a talk and say, this is not working for me. I have no time left for myself. This is what I had to do with my mother-in-law. Was, I don't have time to keep doing all of these things and run my business and do other things that I have to do. I can take you to some of them, but I can't take you to all of them. Let me get you a driver. And she finally was okay with that. Because, I had this talk, it's like, I really need to have some more time for me because this is wearing me down. And most of the time, people will be reasonable. Now, I'm not saying they'll always be reasonable, but a lot of times it's like, I would like to be happy. Don't you want me to be happy? Can we have a compromise here? So are you willing to make those changes? Are you willing to stop doing some of the things that may be less, or maybe are destructive for you, or are maybe not as popular with other people? Be willing to ask those questions. So where else do myths come from? You get them from other people. So yes, Atlas may be holding up the world, and he may be able to hold up all the stuff that he gets from everybody else. But maybe you aren't going to be able to do that, because you pick up all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions from everybody around you, and they believe that you believe that they belong to you. So you're actually picking up everything that everybody's thinking around you. You're much more telepathic and empathic than you think you are. So you've got all these things that you're picking up from them, and it's just like Atlas holding them up. Once you've got all those things and you've got them in that big ball, how long can you hold that up? Or is it going to start getting to be too much for you? Because trust me, if you're holding something over your head, after a while, no matter how small that thing is, it starts to really get heavy. So those things that you're taking on from other people, you're like a big satellite dish, picking up everybody's thoughts, feelings, and emotions all the time. And in fact, over 90% of what's in your head belongs to somebody else. But you think that because it's there, it's got to be yours. I mean, why else would there be something in your head if it really wasn't yours? Because you discount the fact that you really are telepathic and empathic, that you really do pick up things from other people. Because let's face it, how many times have you gone into a room and people have been really upset and angry and anxious in that room, and then you walk in afterwards and that energy is still there and you can feel it, and you wonder, why do you feel angry and upset and anxious when you weren't feeling that way till you walked in the room? That's your telepathic and empathic abilities at work, and you just discount it as if, oh, who knows, and you keep going. But you get those things and then you believe that they're actually yours, like I said, because why would they be in your head unless they were yours, and you think you have to fix them. But they aren't really yours, and you don't really have to fix them. You can start letting them go. Really, you can. You can return them, and that will set you free, because you spend all that energy trying to fix things that are other people's, and you can't. So return to sender is the tool that I give everybody to do this. It's something that we have in Access Consciousness, and if you've ever taken any of my other classes or heard any of my other calls, you know that I love to give out this tool. So when you're trying to fix all these things for everybody else, and you've got all this stuff in you and all of that, then You can set yourself free from all of that by using return to sender. Whenever these things are popping in your head that just aren't usual for you, they're emotions, they're thoughts that you just wonder where in the world that came from, use return to sender to let it go. When things are feeling really heavy, like I said, you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're holding up that big globe of stuff, and it's getting really heavy. That stuff's not yours. It's time to let it go. So you can just say, all that stuff, I return it to sender. And when you just want some space, because really when you start letting go of all of everybody's stuff, of all that stuff that you've been worrying about and fretting about and trying to fix and trying to do something with it that isn't yours anyway, and you don't know where it came from, and you don't know why you can't fix it, and on and on and on and on and on. When you let go of that stuff, that gives you so much more space. And when you have all of that space, it allows you to be more of who you are. It allows you to see that you can actually have more of what you would like your life to be. And you can start seeing where those other things that don't work for you are, and you can start letting them go. So the phrase that we use is return to sender with consciousness attached. And it works. It starts breaking those bonds, those places where you've tied yourself to other people and other things that aren't really yours. It starts to set you free and give you all that space and all of that more of you, so you know what's really yours and what isn't. And it releases you from all of that. You don't have to fix all of those things that aren't yours. You don't have to do something with all those things that aren't yours. You can just let them go and unlock it from your body and just let it go away. And it will set you free. So another source of myths is that you start carrying other people's burdens. So it's kind of an extension of where you're picking up everybody's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but you're actually doing this a little bit more consciously. You're actually, why would you take on their burdens for others and from others? So again, you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders or on your back, but you're shouldering or carrying their burdens. You're there to carry it for them instead of having them carry it. Again, we're taught that that's very noble, to take other people's burdens from them. But can you ever really do that? Sharing their burdens. Again, there's that cliche that, a burden shared is a burden lessened. Is that really true? Does that really reduce their burden, or does it just give you a burden too? And sometimes you try to heal them. Those of us who are healers, we take on a lot of stuff from our clients, and also people who work with others like social workers and people who deal with the public a lot. You take on a lot of things from other people to try to help them heal what's going on in their lives. So you think that if you take it into you, or whether you think this consciously or subconsciously, if you take it into you, then that will fix it. That will fix it for them, and then maybe you can heal it and maybe you can't, and maybe you realize that you've got it and maybe you don't. But chances are it doesn't really help. A lot of times it just means that you've taken it on and now you both have it. The same way with sharing their burdens. So you're still carrying all of that stuff. Another thing you're trying to do is shelter people. A lot of times parents try to shelter their children from things. They they believe that if they can shelter them from the world, that their lives will be better. Can you shelter them from school or from society or from other children, or can you shelter anybody from the rest of the world? And does that really work? Or are there other ways that would actually be more useful for everybody? And you try to validate people. You try to make them believe what they're doing is okay, that what they've done is okay, that even if they're screwing up, you try to make them believe that that's okay. And is that really a good thing? When you're trying to validate them, you're trying to make what they're doing right. And is it really? And what does it do to you, what they're doing? And you try to fix them and fix their lives. And can you ever really do that? Can you really fix somebody else's life? You might be able to help them, but can you really fix their life? And then when their life isn't fixed, or they don't do what you said, or any of that, and that things just start going wrong for them, then how wrong do you make yourself? Did you fail them? Did you fail because obviously if they had done everything that you said, everything would have worked for them? And even if they did do what you said and their life didn't get to be what they would like, then again, you're wrong, because obviously you didn't tell them the right things to do to fix their lives. And is that really any help for anybody? Can you really ever fix anybody or fix anybody else's life? And maybe they don't really need to be fixed. Is fixing what's true, or is it that maybe something completely different needs to be happening for them? And on and on and on for why you would take on other people's burdens. So when you've taken on all that stuff for everybody, is it any wonder that your back and shoulders hurt? You're carrying the weight of the world for everybody. Of course your back and your shoulders hurt. And does it really work? Or now that you've taken on their burdens, do you just both have the burden now? Because they didn't really learn to deal with it. They didn't really learn to let go of it. You took it on. So now you have it, and probably they bring it back because they never really let go of it. They didn't do anything to actually let go of it. So now you've both got it. And does that really work for you? How long now are you going to carry their burdens as well? So how do you let go? Would you like to stop doing all of that, carrying other people's burdens, and set yourself free? So again, return to sender with consciousness attached is a huge tool for this. What I do, again, at the end of every day, it's everything that I've taken on for and from everybody else that I'm carrying. I now unlock it from my body and return it to sender with consciousness attached. Sometimes I do that multiple times a day, especially if I'm feeling some of those things that I said, like, things are getting really heavy for me, or I've got emotions and pains and things that just show up out of nowhere that I, know aren't mine. It's just, all the stuff that I'm carrying for everybody else and everything that I've taken on for everybody else, I return it to sender with consciousness attached. So what's another source of myths is that you make them up. Yep, you're just making that up. And you're really good at it. You're very inventive. So you make up stories of what others think about you and buy into those stories. So you don't really know what they think about you, but you make it up based on something else. And how is that you do that? You're filling in the blanks. And again, you're really, really good at it. So you're making up stories of things that maybe, somebody walks by you and you say hi and the other person just keeps walking, or you email or text someone and you get no reply, or you send them a gift and you get no response. Now you're filling in the blanks. You're the blank. You make me blank. What starts going through your mind when those things happen? Well, you probably start thinking, how dare they ignore me? Or maybe, what did I do to upset them? How have I upset them? What have I done that makes them not want to talk to me? What makes them not, maybe they didn't get my gift. Maybe they didn't like my gift. Maybe I said something wrong to them this morning. Maybe I didn't call them back when I should have. Maybe I forgot to text them. Maybe somebody, maybe somebody said something to them about something that I said about something, and it's blah, 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 and it goes on and on and on and on, and it just keeps building and building and building. So now these minor issues get out of proportion. Okay, so the person walked by you in the hallway. That may just be that they were distracted thinking about something, making plans. They aren't really noticing anybody. Well, now you don't know that. Instead, you've decided that they're upset about maybe you didn't answer their email this morning. So, okay, so they're upset with me because I didn't answer their email. Then that probably means that that now I'm not going to get to go to the event that they're having, and they're going to tell everybody else that I don't care, and then I'm this, and it's blah, 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 blah. All these things you start making up about them. And it may not be true. Again, they may just have been distracted. So now you're afraid to even call them because you've created that. Now there's this argument between the two of you, and you've created in your head, and that argument just keeps going even though there's no argument to begin with. But in your head it keeps growing because the story keeps playing out. And you're distorting and building on those few little things that actually did happen that may actually not even be related to each other. And you're inventing an entire scenario that the only place it ever took place is in your head. You know, two things may have happened. So like 2 sentences in this 50-page story actually happened. And you made up all the rest. I mean, you know, certain things in the age of instant communication, people get to the point where they're expecting you to respond immediately. So this friend of mine, she was upset because her boyfriend wasn't responding to her in like 5 or 10 minutes. And I said, you know, he has a job. Maybe he's actually working and making money. Isn't that what you would like to have him do instead of texting you every 5 minutes? So when you're letting go of these things, look at what actually took place. Ask yourself, how much of this stuff did I actually invent and infer from what actually took place? Did event A happen? Yes or no? Did event B happen? Yes or no? Did these things really happen, or did I make it up based on something else? And then be willing to allow the stuff that didn't really happen to fade away. It's time to just start letting go of it. Just let it start fading away and dissipating, and go back to what really happened, and maybe go back to the person and clarify what really happened here. You know, is anything really wrong, or did I make it all up? And start going with that. You can get so much peace from letting that stuff fade away and stop being so inventive. So changes. Letting go of myths can require you to start making changes. And will you make those changes that are required? Are you ready to stop making up stories? Are you ready to start asking more questions? Start asking the questions that I have in the presentation. Start going with, you know, is this really working? Are these things I've invented? Are these things that people told me that I just bought into that are really causing limitations and difficulties in my life? And can I let them go now? Are you ready to make the required changes and choices? Are you ready to not be popular maybe, or ready to be a little uncomfortable, or ready to start doing things in a completely different way? Will you use return to sender? That's the huge thing. I mean, even if you just start here, letting go of all of the stuff that you're taking on and carrying for other people can be huge. Are you ready to stop filling in the blanks? Start looking at what's really going on and where you're creating the things that aren't going on. And are you willing to set yourself free? Because a lot of times people believe that they don't deserve to be happy. that they've screwed up so bad in all these areas of their life, they don't deserve to be happy. They don't deserve happiness and freedom and joy. But are you willing to be that? Are you willing to have that in your life and realize that you deserve happiness and joy and freedom? Now is the time to go for it, to be free and to be happy. So, are there any questions? And of course, since I don't have the, the live group, the questions that were asked were, one person had said that she'd had a lot of pain in her back, and what I said was to just every place that you're creating that pain and every place that you have taken it on for anybody else, to just allow every place that's been locked in your body to return that to sender with consciousness attached and let go of it. Just realize it doesn't have to be yours. It doesn't have to stay. You can return it to sender with consciousness attached. And another one was about all of the places that they were so creatively filling in the blanks. And so yes, just ask yourself to be more aware of that. Just keep saying, what would it take for me to be more aware of where I'm taking things on for people, where I'm filling in the blanks with things, and just keep asking for that. Ask the universe, ask God, ask Source, ask yourself to just be more aware of that, so that when it shows up, then you can do the return to sender, or the, okay, is this really happening? Is this really working for me? And another one, they were talking about, their Pegasus and their dragon, and how much they enjoyed them and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's fun to have those things. And I was talking about how I used to read dragon books until I was constantly thinking about dragons and dreaming about dragons, and then I had to just go to just having Legend and stop reading the dragon. So Legend, my little purple dragon, who's been with me for years. And just, start using the tools and how easy they can be and how much it can help set you free. So the gift that I have for you is I have a book of questions. It's questions to change your life. And you can go out to iampurpledawn.com/questions-to-change-life and download the book and start going through some of the questions that I used today and some other ones that can really help you, and go with that. And then I have a special offer of a program that I have called Launch into Freedom, 21 Days to Create a Life You Love. And it's a program that, like I said, is 21 days and will be starting in January. And it will help move you through your myths and limiting beliefs so that you can gain the freedom to have the life you'd love to live. And like I said, I would love to give everybody the rocket boots, because I'd love to have a pair, but I don't know a good source for those, So the program, we're going to identify the myths that you have in your life through weekly group calls, and we're going to help you gain clarity on what's limiting you. You're going to be getting tools to help you break through your barriers and your myths and to continue your journey to personal freedom. And then you'll be receiving what I call home play, which is different than homework, which are exercises to help you continue those breakthroughs that we've had in the calls and guide you through exercises for additional clearings. So it's regularly $4.95 for everybody on the call. It's $197. But wait, it's Black Friday this week. So for everybody who registers by December 1st, it's only $97. Pretty cool, huh? And then for those of you who register this weekend, so before Monday, Monday is the 27th, you'll each get a personal one-on-one call with me in addition to the program. So go to iampurpledawn.com/launch-into-freedom to sign up for the program and to receive your Black Friday special. And again, Legend and I thank you for joining us. And here's my contact information with my email address, my website, iampurpledawn.com, and then on Facebook, I'm purple.dawn. So again, thank you. Legend and I thank you for joining us, and we hope that you'll join us for Launch into Freedom. Legend, I'm sure, will at least be making, personal appearances during the calls. And I will be sending this recording out to everybody, and I'll also have to send out some sort of special edition because you didn't get the live version. So anyway, thank you very much again, and for everybody, have a great week, and those in the United States, have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.